Hello.
Rabbi Wein is going to start in 8.
Okay.
Just, I think there's a bit of a technical glitch there when I told him to take up the music. Hi, everyone. The timer is broken for some reason, and it's not working, but we will start at 8, which is in about 2-3 minutes. Huh? Is it on Facebook already? Guys, as I mentioned before, our time is broke. Oh, now it's working. Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining our webinar. You know, one of the Rebbe's campaigns was that every Jewish home should be filled with Torah books. Another campaign is that every Jewish child should receive a Torah education, and that we should teach our children Torah. What does the pasuk say? V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bom. So Chabad House Johannesburg has a campaign on it at the moment. And the campaign is aimed at every Jewish family with school-going children, that if you sign up, they sign up to learn a few minutes every week with their children, with their parsha, with their children, the parsha of the week. Or if they're already learning, to increase in the learning, we will give them the most beautiful parsha book. The value is about 600 Rand. All you have to do is commit to learning a little bit more with your kids. Now, in order to help us understand this week's parsha, and in order to help us be able to give it over to our kids, we are very privileged this evening to have one of the great Torah scholars, a prolific author, authored more than 24 books, I think. But Rabbi Wein, it's an absolute honor to have you, and thank you so much for agreeing to share some insights on this week's Parsha. So over to you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and an honor always to speak to my friends in South Africa, one of the dearest communities that I have had the privilege of knowing and visiting. The Jewish people live from Shabbat to Shabbat. And every Shabbat we read a different parsha, different portion of the Torah. The portion of the Torah is not meant to be a discussion about what was as much as it is meant to be a discussion about what is. The Torah, through its timelessness and its eternity, is commenting upon our world. And one of the great features of Torah is the ability to focus upon issues and problems that are current and to deal with them in a timeless fashion. This week's Parsha, you read the Parsha of Pinchas in South Africa. We here in Israel are ahead of you. We read Parsha Matot. Next week we'll all catch up with Maseh and Matot Maseh. Parsha of Pinchas begins with the Lord expressing, so to speak, the gratitude of heaven to Pinchas for standing up for what is right when the rest of the Jewish people appeared powerless. And the Lord therefore said, I grant him my covenant of peace, and I grant him the fact that the priesthood will belong to him. And in fact, our rabbis teach us that all 380 high priests that existed over the first and second temples were all descendants of Pinchas. Then the Torah seemingly goes to a complete non sequitur. Different subject completely. We're going to count the Jewish people again. We've counted them earlier twice. Now we're going to count them again. And this count is based upon families to teach us that even though we are a nation of individuals, our survival is dependent upon the issue of family, of holding the family together, of giving it a commonality of purpose, of giving it a common history, so that there can be a common future. In the count, the Torah references two verses that seemingly really don't belong here at all. If we're counting families and people, so that's it. Yet the Torah makes reference here to the rebellion of Korach, which we read about a few weeks ago. Korach is the arch-villain in the desert. He rebels against Moshe and against Aaron. He splits the Jewish people. He makes demands that he should be the leader. and he brings death and destruction, a plague upon the Jewish society that ends up in the loss of life and certainly in a traumatic, negative experience. Why does the Torah mention this? Here, we already had a whole parsha of Korah. We know all the details. We know what he said and what the response was and what the result was. We know all of that. Why does the Torah reintroduce it here in this parsha? So there's one verse that one has to take notice of. The Torah says, after recounting that Korah was destroyed and that the 250 people that were his cohorts were destroyed and the plague that visited the Jewish people, etc., etc., the Torah says, Ubnei Korach lo mesu. The children of Korach did not die. The Torah is teaching us here a basic lesson, and that is family is survival. And even if it doesn't turn out well in generation A or B, there'll come another generation that it will turn out. Before we sound the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, according to our custom, we recite 7 times a chapter from Tehillim, from Psalms. L'matzeach livnei Korach mizmor. This is a psalm written by the children of Korach, the descendants of Korach. If we want to triumph on the day of judgment, why should we bring up Korach? There are tens and tens of other chapters and psalms that could have been used. But it was purposely chosen because the Torah wanted us to remember that B'nai Korach lo mesu. You never give up on the Jewish people. You never give up on generations. The rabbis say a halacha, a rule, that one should not disinherit children, even if the children are worthy of being disinherited. And the Talmud says, because you don't know what it'll look like generations later. Out of Korach comes Shmuel Hanavi, the great prophet Shmuel. Comes the whole family of Levium. The Torah wants us to keep that in mind. Don't give up. Don't say Korach is in the ground and goodbye. We have no future. Today, Korach lo mesu. The descendants of Korach did not pass away. They're here with us today. Korach was wrong, but because sometimes generations go astray for whatever reasons. You cannot give up. You cannot give up on the family and certainly not on the Jewish people, because the children of Korach did not die yet. They are present. We remind ourselves every Rosh Hashanah before Tkiyot that the children of Korach are here with us. There's a second verse that seems out of place on the surface. The Torah counts the tribe of Asher. And then it says, almost as in an aside, B'Shem Bas Asher Sorach. The name of the daughter of Asher is Sorach. What is that doing there? What is the importance of knowing that? So in the tradition of the Jewish people have a tremendous memory, a collective memory. Individual Jews, maybe not so much, but the Jewish people as a whole remember everything. So we remember Sorach, the daughter of Asher. According to Midrash, she lived for centuries. She was the oldest woman the Jewish people ever had. There's a Midrash that says that she even lived to see King David. So she saw her father, and she saw her grandfather Yaakov, and she saw David HaMelech. What was her merit? What did she do to deserve such longevity and such accomplishment? So there's a beautiful midrash that teaches us that when the brothers sold Yosef into slavery, so the house of Jacob was in complete depression. And Yaakov Avinu himself was sad and morose because his beloved son was gone. And the Torah itself tells us that even the heavenly spirit was not in the house anymore, because the heavenly spirit only comes with happiness and joy and optimism, not with depression. There was one little girl, Sorach, the daughter of Asher. And she went every day to her old and grieving grandfather. And she tried to cheer him up. And she sang to him. And the song that she sang to him was, Od Yosef Choy, Od Yosef Choy. Yosef is still alive. Zayda, don't give up. Yosef is still alive. And all the years, the 22 years that Yosef was gone, and she was no longer a little girl. She was with her grandfather, and she sang to him, and she attempted to restore his spirit and his vision for the future. When Yosef revealed himself to his brothers, and the brothers, when they're going home, they said to themselves, who's going to tell Yaakov? After 22 years of telling him a lie, what are we going to do now? And not only that, if we tell him the truth, the shock will kill him. He's an old man. He won't be able to absorb it. So they decided that Sorach, the daughter of Asher, would tell him. And she would tell him the way she always comforted him. Zayda Od Yosef Choy. Yosef is still alive, but now he's really alive. He's the emperor in Egypt. His dreams have been fulfilled. Yosef is alive. Yaakov heard it. His heart skipped a beat because of the shock, but he recovered. And he recovered because of his granddaughter, who as a little girl comforted him in his hour of sorrow and need. The Torah wants us to remember that. And therefore, the Torah inserts Eshem Bas Osher Sorach. You want to know who the name of the daughter of Osher was, who kept her Zeta alive? Was Sorach. And Sorach is going to live and see the triumph of the Jewish people and see the greatness of King David. And that's the powerful message for us in our generation as well. There is so much to despair over. There's a lot of Korachs around. And brothers don't always treat brothers correctly. But the survival of the Jewish people is certain. And it's reflected in these two verses. And that is really the message for our time, our generation, to our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. You have such a wonderful heritage. Hold on to it. It'll give you longevity and purpose and vision and hope. It is the greatest gift that one generation can give to another. So I want to thank you, my friends, for listening. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. Please come visit us here in Yerushalayim, the holy city, that every day is being built and built and built. And again, that's the survival and promise of the Jewish people being fulfilled in front of our eyes. Kol Tuv Selah and Shabbat Shalom.
Rabbi Wein, thank you for those beautiful insights and for giving us hope for the future. Od Yosef Chaim, please God, in merit of our Torah that we learned this evening, may please God we have Eliyahu Hanavi coming to announce that Mashiach is going to reveal himself, where Hashem will be revealed in this world, and sadness will be removed, and all families will be reunited. Thank you very much, Rabbi Wein.
Kol Tuv.